Welcome to the program. In Nigeria, soldiers deployed to the Okuama community in Ughelli South local government area of Delta State have continued razing more houses in the community following last weekend's killing of several military officers on rescue mission to the riverine community. Also, at some point in the program, we will be switching gears to Senegal, where top opposition leader Ousmane Sonko vowed on Friday to help his team win Senegal's March 24th presidential poll, even though he is barred from the ballot, jumping into the campaign in his first public address since being freed from prison a day earlier. Welcome to the conversation. I am Dakbo Adigboyi. Let's talk. Soldiers deployed to the Okuama community in Ughelli South local government area of Delta State have continued razing more houses in the community following last weekend's killing of several military officers on rescue mission to the riverine community. There were strong allegations that some angry soldiers may have perpetrated the act after their colleagues were killed. In the meantime, the Nigerian military deployed armored vehicles to Bomadi, headquarters of Bomadi Council, over the killing of military personnel on peace and rescue mission in Okuama community in Ughelli South local government area. Unfortunately, 14 lifeless bodies of soldiers earlier killed in the early hours of Saturday were recovered by soldiers of the Joint Task Force at Okuama community in the Ughelli South local government area of the state. Some of the rescued corpses, however, were said to have been beheaded, while the stomachs and hearts of others were ripped off. Now, the Nigerian president and also the chief of defense staff has ordered a probe into the tragic killing of some of the 4 senior officers and 12 soldiers. Now, joining me to make sense of this is Mr. Adams Abo, managing director and also CEO, that's Otuyeke Universal Security, and Mr. Femi Aratokunale, the security expert from the United Kingdom. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here.
All right. Really tragic and very, very sad development, even as we speak, happening right now in Delta State. But I'd like to start off with you, Mr. Aratokun. What do you make of what just happened over the weekend in Okuama area of Delta State, where those soldiers were not just killed, but some of them were beheaded? According to reports also, some parts were even opened or ripped out. What do you make of this style of not just the murder itself, but the way and manner these uniformed men were killed?
Thank you for having me. And I think this is a very sad news. And it's a very tragic loss as well to the Nigerian community, to the military, to everyone at large, especially those representing us in terms of wearing the uniform to protect and make sure that our infrastructures all over the country are well secured. It's a very tragic one that members of the public can actually take laws into their hands and make sure that they can actually perpetrate such acts without looking. So it's a very deep one. However, having said that, what is the policy as regards to conflict resolution in Nigeria? Those are the kind of things we need to look into. And do we think we have the better understanding of why the military actually went to this community in the first place, knowing well that there are reprisal issues and there are history behind the OG attack in the previous administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo. And presently right now, things are not too okay in terms of how security have been dealt with and how the kidnap and so many security issues are going on in Nigeria. I don't think this is the best thing we need to have right now to start talking about. So it's a very tragic one. And I think the government, the member of the public, and the community and the state must look for a better way to resolve this issue rather than looking for fire approach to solve and diffuse the whole escalation going on.
Okay, I mean, we'll get to, of course, the reactions, the reaction particularly from the men of the force. I mean, reports that we are getting right now, from Delta states are really disturbing concerning the ongoings in those areas. But I'd like to go to you, Adams. What do you make of the way and manner this uniformed men, the soldiers, were killed? And, I mean, with a bit of background as to their mission there. They were there on a search and rescue mission, but unfortunately ended up, being killed in such gruesome manner. What do you make of this?
I think let's look at the situation that took them there first. Two communities had disagreement, and someone was kidnapped, or some persons were kidnapped by a particular community. And looking at how militarized that kind of place is, there is no any better force you can send to negotiate peace other than the military, as it were. And for us to understand that the military was really going there to negotiate peace, you see that they went with their very high command at the brigade level. I mean, very senior officers led those other soldiers. I mean, a lieutenant colonel, 2 majors, captain, and all the like. That shows you that they were going really to negotiate peace. And it's not as if when you talk about conflict resolution, that the military has no way of resolving conflict. They do have, and that was what they went for. But this community, for whatever reason, went to waylay them on the river, knowing fully well that having seen them, that they did not come to fight them, they did not come there with any arsenal, they now pursue them and just killed them. And they don't just kill them, they mutilated their bodies. I mean, denigrate Nigeria as a country.
I mean, let's because that is the question a lot of people are are asking. Yes. What do you think could have been the motive behind such kind of killing, where they are not just killed, but the bodies are beheaded, according to reports, and even mutilated?
I think there is no any other motive other than for them to possibly accuse the military of supporting the group that they have come to rescue.
Do you think they were trying to send some sort of message?
But that is their job. They had come to do. It's not anything spectacular. If they were the one that were kidnapped, the same thing the military would have done. So it shows that that particular community and their youth and whatever they are terribly demonic. And so they had their plans. And that was why when they went for negotiation, they did not even give them any face. They just allowed them to talk and be going back, and then went and then brought them down, knowing fully well that these guys did not come there to fight them. And now I am surprised that
I'm sorry, I would totally disagree with you on this issue. And on this very point, I'm not going to say yes to what you've just said. No, let us have it well detailed. Let us have it well planned. The question we need to ask ourselves is this: do you think you have the details of how the whole thing happened in the first place? I am not justifying what the community did, but in the first place, let us go for how was exactly what really happened in terms of the resolution they went for in the first place.
Femi, you know what? We will get
community members actually involved in the first place.
Femi, we'll get to you. Of course, we'll get to know your reactions to some of the things Adams has said. But let's allow Adams land, and then we'll come to you,
Adams, I can tell very well you are from one community, but we're not trying to support one another.
Gentlemen,
please let us try to apply understanding into all this. This is resolution. This is why we call it conflict resolution in the first place. How did you manage to get there? What really led to what?
Okay, Femi, we'll get to you and get your reaction concerning this. But let's allow Adams...
Allow me to conclude.
Let's allow Adams to conclude.
From the information available to us, the killing of the soldiers did not take place at the place they were holding meeting. The killing of the soldiers took place when the meeting was inconclusive and they were going back and they met them at the river. The soldiers did not begin to shoot them. There was no any report that the military attacked the community. No, there was no such information up to this moment that we are discussing. The issue is, if the military had attacked them, would they have killed all of them and got away with it? They wouldn't have anybody down.
You know what,
Adams, in your opening speech, you mentioned that there is nobody.
Let's listen to Femi now. Let's listen to Femi now. We know
there is no one that is meant to be there.
But
gentlemen,
we know that as it were, there's going to be where, I mean,
I might be forced to go on a break, gentlemen. I might be forced to go on a break. Okay, so Adams, please, for now, let's just listen to Femi. We know that investigations and, of course, developing stories are still coming up concerning the motive and what actually transpired. But the feelings we're getting here and there, we know that in due course we'll have full information. But let's hear what Femi has to say as regards what you think might have been the motive for such dastardly act. Why would a community, want to carry, or some individuals in that community want to do such a very callous thing to men of the force? Femi?
You see, as a security personnel, a security consultant, and a criminologist as well, we need to look into certain things. What was the motive behind all this? The motive behind all this is no more than the oil infrastructure within the Delta region. That is number one thing we need to look into. And if two factions are actually fighting or having issues, we don't need to support one side or, try to, make one side more powerful than the other. What we need to look into is this: who are the team members or who are the committee that should be set up to make things work so that everybody will have a clear understanding? The movement into the community and the movement out of the community has got to be well coordinated. But all this well coordinated. Was the COS actually involved in this? Are we sure that the presidency actually involved in this? Are we sure that the police command within this area are actually involved in this? Those are certain steps we need to actually look into.
But you seem to disagree. Femi, you seem to disagree with some of the things Adam said.
Absolutely very wrong. Because the whole community did not commit this crime. Certain individuals did. So we need to look into who are those that committed this crime, and we need to look at a way to fish them out. Yes, what they did was barbaric. Yes, what they did cannot be called for. Yes, no one is supporting them. But now putting the whole community as demonic, as bad, as terrible, is not the best way to go.
All right, let me go back to you, Adams.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so I know that you will have some clarifications to do.
Yes. Let me clarify the issues, as it were. First and foremost, nobody is saying that the whole community is involved in this dastardly act.
That was the opening speech.
Let us get that right. Secondly, I also want us to understand that the operation the military went, it is an operation that certainly the hierarchy would have known. Even us very senior officers at that level wouldn't have, joined soldiers to go to that place. Let us understand. And again, you talked about the police. If the exercise, if the kind of operation is not something the police can move in alone, we have seen that militaries are the best option in that situation, considering the intensity of the agitation between these two communities. I think that was what happened. But that the military or what is now reacting, or the way they are reacting, and some people are already complaining, that is a different ball game. But what we are saying is that the group, whether they are the youths, whether they are the vigilante of the community that did this, is something that is unbelievable. I mean, it has happened in several places. It happened in Udi. It happened in somewhere in Benue in the past. And of course, it wasn't funny for the occupants of the place. And I think this should have been something that should have been an eye-opener to other communities in this country, that even their own colleagues will not watch their colleagues murdered in that disgraceful manner and fold their arms and be watching. But that as it may, I know that the hierarchy, in addition to whatever operation that is going on now, must have put in place, I mean, very solid conflict resolution and investigation team that will unravel the whole situation. But certainly, whoever are those that were involved in this must be looked for, brought, and then dealt with in the law court.
I mean, let me go back to you, Femi, on this. I mean, this is not the first time. I know that since this incident happened over the weekend, people have been making reference to Odi when the former President Olusegun Obasanjo was in power, and the military, went into full swing, and leveled an entire community there. And we are beginning to see that now, even though they are developing stories, as we speak, concerning the activities of the military in that area. One of such developing stories, even when the governor went to visit those areas, pressmen were not, allowed to sort of come in, even though there are stories of properties and all being damaged. Now, my question to you is this. It looks like we are seeing a replay of the past. How can this very unfortunate situations like this be averted in the future? And what do you also make of the reaction of the military itself on this matter? Is this the way to go? Femi?
You see, Dapo, thank you so much for the question you just asked me. And Mr. Adams, I'm not trying to personally attack you, but again, the policy we have in Nigeria, because if we have no, so many things are not well known physics in Nigeria, not that they don't have the blueprint procedures. We have things that are meant to be done the right way. We're having issues at the moment. And part of the issues we're having is there has been no trust between the security operative and the member of the public. So this is exactly where it's led us to now. Look at the young boys and officers that were killed. They could be our brothers, they could be our cousins, they could be anyone to us. But lastly, it's happened. Do we not need to use fire back for fire? No, we don't have to. This is why the community, the state, the federal government, and everybody must join hands together and look for a better way of solving this issue. This is exactly my point. Look, the way they have actually committed these atrocities, I see them as criminals. I see them as hooligans. I see them as thugs. I'm not going to say anything more than that. And they should be dealt with. If it's possible, let me say it this way, they should be given the capital punishment because they're actually wearing the uniform. They're actually wearing the pride of the nation, and we see them being mutilated this way. We should not allow OD issues to come back in place again in Nigeria of today. We're looking for ways of how to, solve so many insecurity in the country, and we don't need to add another icing on the cake to it. This is my point.
All right, I'd like to direct the same question to you, Adams. But I mean, within this context, the president, actually did authorize the military to fish out the perpetrators. In the words of the president, he said the defense headquarters and chief of defense staff have been granted full authority to bring to justice anybody found to have been responsible for the unconscionable crime against the Nigerian people. My government will not relent until we have achieved peace and tranquility in every part of the country. I extend my profound condolences to the family of the fallen heroes, and it goes on. Now, looking at, of course, the go-ahead Mr. President has given in terms of seeking justice and with the activities of the military officers on ground, even as we speak, in this community, right? Is it justifiable?
To do what? Is it justifiable to do what?
Yes, what we are seeing the military do at the moment in this community, even though they've been given the go ahead to get the perpetrators. But right now we are beginning to see cases where random people also are affected. Properties, are being destroyed. Is it justifiable? Is this the way to go?
You have just said that the president had given them the authority to fish out the perpetrators of this heinous crime. That is a tall order. The modus operandi, how to carry that out, is in the hands of the military that are feeling the impact of the incident. And so, whatever they are doing now to bring out those that perpetrate this act, we need to give ourselves some space and see the outcome. But let me add something. My colleague, who is speaking from UK, in the country where you live, can this kind of thing happen there? I have been to that country several times on this security issue. Let me land. Ordinary flight. If a military man is in the airport with you and you want to board the same aircraft, if the military man does not enter, you, the civilian, whether you have a first class ticket, you don't even enter. This is how much they respect their military men. Do we do that in this country? Instead, let me tell you what happens. Let me tell you what is happening. Instead, we visit the scenes of political leaders, perceived scenes of political leaders on our security operatives. In other words, they believe that if you are carrying out a certain operation, whichever way they think, their own thinking tilt them to, they believe you are supporting government, or government must be supporting the other group, and the next thing they do is to attack you. Now, let me say this, and I want to repeat myself very clearly. OD has not taught anybody a lesson. What is the other one in Benue? It seems to have not taught people lesson. And the earlier it teaches us lesson as a country, the better for us. Because we have seen, if you take statistics, between December, I think October last year and this moment, more than 80 military men have been killed in the not even just peace operations, not even in terrorism and so on and the like operations. So we need as a country and as a people to respect, have regard for our security forces as other nations do. That is the only way they can perform creditably well when we have issues like this. Because we know that it is the oil thing that created the crisis between the two communities. But certainly the military were not there to side any of the two groups. They were there to maintain peace. And that's why they did not go there for war. But as it is now, they have to use whatever is available to them, whatever technique, whatever strategy, whatever technology for them to fish out those that maimed their colleagues. And I think that is what is going on.
All right, let me move to Femi right now. Femi, I noticed that you were trying to react to some of the things Adam said. The floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Adams, thank you for using United Kingdom, using me as a case study, as a baseline to start my explanation. Military men, security officers, whoever is in uniform representing a community, representing the states, representing the country, are well and fully respected here in UK. That is number one. Mr. Adams, allow me to just say my point clearly to you. You just asked me, can this happen in UK? The answer to that is yes and no. The only way things like this can happen is if we do not follow the rules of engagement, it might likely happen. However, there are people well trained to actually carry out this kind of operations. The question we need to ask is this: do you think a proper risk assessment was actually carried out before moving into this community in the first place? If it's not properly carried out, then we need to look into that aspect. I'm not saying they are wrong or right. I'm not actually supporting the community because I serve and at the same time I deliver security services in UK and in Nigeria as well. And when I see things like this happening, I keep asking myself, is the firepower the absolute result to a lot of things? The answer to that is no. However, there is what you call these two things. Mr. Adams, listen to me clearly, please. Dapo, please listen to me. There are two things. There's what you call the security customer service, and there's what you call security conflict resolution. These two things are two different things. But do you really see these two things happen at all in the first place? I wouldn't know, because all reports we're getting are still sketchy. All reports we're getting are still sketchy. So do not let us just conclude and assume, yes, this is what has happened. What I'm saying is this: using the police as the last resort to now do the mop-up is equally very wrong. Why can't we use the police to start up, or use the police to support these operations in the first place, rather than using military force and now asking the police, to go in and look for a way to diffuse the whole issues? This is my point.
All right. But I mean, just before we conclude on this first half of the program, what do you suggest as a way out of this very, very unfortunate situation? How can peace be reached, in these communities to, avert future escalation of this particular matter? The floor is yours, Adams.
Okay, I think for now, because of the military operation that is going on, I think I want to urge the various stakeholders in the various communities to volunteer information concerning the perpetrators of this act. And possibly, if they know where they are, hand them over to the authorities. This will mellow down the operation that is going on now. Secondly, the military has said, the investigation team should also cut across other security disciplines, so that at the end of the day, we'll, just like my colleague said, we'll really know what went wrong. Like he said, did we do any risk assessment before I allowed the military to move in? Is it supposed to be the last resort in that kind of situation? We wouldn't know that, as it were, but we are assuming that that would have been because of the intensity of the violence in that area. The military, as a kind of psychological operation, would have been the best option before this this terrible incident happened to them. So I call on all the stakeholders to do whatever they can to fish out the perpetrators. It will help to reduce tension in this area.
All right, let's of course hear from Femi.
Mr. Adams and Dapo, thank you so much. This is a very hot topic. I don't think it's going to go down in some other days' time or some weeks' time to come, because we've lost gallant security officers, we've lost some gallant military men, and we don't know where it's going to take place. But don't let us forget, military men, police officers, security officers are being killed or being ambushed daily in other parts of the country that we're not actually reporting. But this is a very tense one. That is why we're hearing this news today, or for the past few days or some few hours ago. However, just like Mr. Adams said, I please call on all stakeholders in Nigeria, not only within the Delta State. I call on the governors within the Delta, South, and all the areas as well. So please, let's come together and look for a way for lasting peace and resolution. We can't go on like this if we want the true democracy in Nigeria.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Then what we should put in to be the white flag, not the black and red, and we fight mourning and bloodshed all the time. What we need is the white flag, so that we need peace. Peace can all things. This is my point today.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Adams Abo, that's a Managing Director and CEO, Otiyeke, Universal Security, and also Mr. Femi Aratokunale, a security experts from the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.
It's my pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you.